Welcome to the biggest island in the Mediterranean Sea, my cousins. Today I'm going to blow your mind. Okay, so as a Sicilian who speaks both Italian and Sicilian natively, I've made a few videos, not that many to be fair, but I've made a few videos on this channel and even my main channel, Metatron, where I spoke a little bit about how we speak, how a language, because it is a regional language, not just a dialect of Italian, how Sicilian functions and how different it is, in fact, from Italian, even though they, of course, share a common origin, Latin. Now, many years ago, I actually made a video, and I decided to take a little portion of this video and react to it, provide extra commentary, and in fact give you more words, and it's gonna be great. So in this video, on the left, I'm speaking Italian, standard Italian in fact, and on the right, I'm actually speaking full-on Sicilian, and I'm saying the exact same words, just so you could see some of those words that in fact sound very different between the two languages. Now, given there are also plenty of words that are very recognizable and clearly in common, if you will, with just a slightly different pronunciation, but I specifically selected these because I wanted you to check them out.
Guardare, tagliare.
Alright, so guardare versus tagliare. For the extra commentary, do we actually use tagliare in Sicilian or is it just an archaic word? No, we do. We use it all the time. Of course, in Sicily we also use guardare, depending on the context. We tend to switch and swap. But tagliare is used all the time as one of the most common ways to say look. And in fact, we use a shortened version, which is tale, which means look at that, tale.
Soldi, piccioli.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So not only we use piccioli a lot to mean money, interestingly enough, this is in fact closer to another Italian word, which is spiccioli with an S, but that one just means change in Italian. Instead, in Sicilian, piccioli is the main way, at least in Western Sicily, to say money. And there is a very fun expression that we still use in Sicily to this day, in full Sicilian, so not just Italian with a Sicilian accent, full Sicilian, and the expression is ti facissi i piccioli. Ti fascisti I piccioli, which means you made yourself money. You made money. But we don't use it to mean you got rich or you were successful in your business. It's our way to say you never write, you never call. That's how we say it. You made money. Ti fascisti I piccioli.
Ragazzo, pecciotto.
Now, I love that for some reasons I look at myself. Anyways, yes, so this is once again very Western Sicilian, typical in fact of Palermo and surrounding area, and it's the most used word to mean boy. In fact, you can use it to mean your boyfriend or girlfriend, because picciota with an A at the end is a girl. So I could say, chi sei me picciota? This is my girlfriend. Or you could say, chi sono me picciotto? This is my boyfriend. Also, another way we use it is picciotti, just to call if there is a group of guys and let's say they're being noisy, that you can refer to all of them as picciotti or picciotti, come a fare. So, boys, what are we gonna do? So we use it a lot. In the east of Sicily, this would be carusi, caruso, which is nice because it's an endearing word, boys, caruso, and that one is connected to Greek, in fact.
Lavoro, travaglio.
100%. So not only travaglio, which is kind of similar to trabajar or travailler. So in this way, Sicilian is actually closer to Spanish and French than it is to standard Italian. But not only we use it as a noun, travaglio, work, but also as a verb. Stamattina a travagliare. So this morning I have to work. I have to is only a in Sicilian, by the way. Stamattina a travagliare. It's just a single vowel means I have to. I love it. Stamattina a travagliare. Or you could say travagliaisi. So did you work? Travagliaisi.
Sì. Se.
This one is dependent. I think mob, the mob mafia of very, very, like in some thick Sicilian speaking areas, they would say se, but a lot of Sicilians also just say si, even when they speak Sicilian. So this is something I needed to add.
Attento. Accura.
Accura is one of those that I've heard my entire life in Sicily. You also hear attento, attento, che fai? Because again, we switch between Italian and Sicilian depending on social status, situation in which you are, who you're speaking with. But accura, to say be careful, is very common. In fact, in all of Sicily. You can even add sakura with a little st and an apostrophe, still to mean be careful, like adding a little, stay careful, in fact, literally. But yeah, akura. You can even use it to threat, depending on to give it, like to threaten someone, depending on the situation. Sakura così perché io sogno un pazzo, which means be careful, cousin, because I'm crazy. Sakura così.
Mangiare. Pistiare.
So on this one, I know that anyone from Sicily who watched this probably was like, ooh, why did you pick that one? So there are a few words to say to eat in Sicilian, and I chose this one specifically because it was the one that was least similar to mangiare. But I have to be honest, and this is it's a little vulgar sounding. So even in Sicily, you'll hear it. I mean, I heard it a lot from my best friend Salvatore, but he was brought up in Zen, which is the Zone Expansion North in Palermo, which is very dangerous area of Palermo. Plenty of lovely people live there, but there are also a lot of people that are very scary, kind of council housing, if you will. And he used this one all the time. I'm a pisiare, so are we gonna eat? But you can also say manciare, which is basically you switch the G into a C, manciare with a ch sound, and then some people put an E at the end, which is very common in Sicilian, swapping for an E to a E, and it becomes manciare. A mangiare, mangiaisi. That's very commonly used, and in fact more commonly used than pistiare.
Per favore. Per favore.
That is the Sicilian way to say per favore, and if you're speaking Sicilian, you will use this. So I will say, muruna un caffè per favore. So muruna is mi dà. So Italian mi dà, which means give me. Muruna, runare, for some reasons it sounds like runes. I don't know why. Anyways, muruna is can you give me? Un, just like Italian, a, caffè, because Sicilian only has a single F, while Italian says caffè with kind of a longer sound, because it's a double. Sicilian simplifies and just says caffè, u caffè. So il caffè becomes u caffè. And it's not the only case in which Sicilian sort of shortens the sounds. It happens as well with macchina, which is the Italian for a car or a machine. Sicilian is just macchina. It's a shorter, simpler sound, if you will. Macchina. Oh, and to give you an example on that, tafiri a puittare a macchina in Sicilian. Tafiri a puittare a macchina, which in Italian would be sai guidare, completely different. Why? Because it means, do you know how to drive? But while Italian says sai guidare la macchina, if you want to add it, which means do you know, sai guidare, to drive, la macchina, the car. In Sicilian, tafiri a puittare a macchina, tafiri is do you know how to. Very different from Italian. A puittare, puittare means to carry. So for some reasons, and then a macchina, the cars. For some reasons in Sicilian, we don't say to drive a car, we say to carry a car. I haven't got a clue why we say it that way, but that's how we say it. Firi is very used, it's used a lot. Un tafiri is when like Sicilian kids, let's say that one of the children says, I know how to do this, like I know how to play this game, or I know how to speak English, or I know how to, whatever it is, drive a car. And the other kids, if they're all speaking Sicilian, they will tell you, un tafiri, which means you don't know how to do it. It's like a way to challenge you. Sicilian kids can be very scary, by the way. Un tafiri. Un tafiri. It's like also a way to be like, no, you don't know how to do it. Un tafiri. In Italian, it would be non lo sai fare, but it doesn't sound scary at all. Whereas Sicilian, in that case, un tafiri, it sounds pretty... We also use it as a joke.
Di dove sei? Runnese. Acqua paiteane.
So here I provided two versions. I didn't really explain it. So the first one is the most common. Note that even though it's di unni, the reality is we pronounce this like an R with an apostrophe. Runni, runni. Runni, si. So where are you from? Literally, runni, si. Because unni is Sicilian for dove, where. Unni. And you can use this in any other situation where you say where. So where is your phone? Where is your car? Una mettissa macchina. Where did you put the car? So where did you drive? Where did you park? So unni is the Sicilian for where. And then I gave the second one, which I heard a few people say it. It means who do you belong to? And it's because Sicilian is very family oriented. And I guess that this one is a little bit of, maybe it's a bit mafia. I guess. But rather than when I'm asking where someone is from, sometimes you can say, who do you belong to? Which is kind of a weird way to ask, but I suppose I've only heard like 2 people do it in my personal life, but I think it depends who you hang out with.
Andare.
Oh, yeah.
Iri.
This is one of my favorite verbs in Sicilian. I think it sounds so cool and so different. Andare is a famous, Italian for to go, and then you conjugate it. It's an irregular verb, so you'll say io vado, tu vai, lui, lei va, right? That's how you andiamo, that's how you conjugate it. But Sicilian, the verb to go is iri. So in its conjugations, it's really weird sometimes, because if you want to ask someone, where are you going, for instance, my friend Salvatore, his dad, every time, my entire teenage years, every time we would leave his house, his dad would ask him, Unni sa iennu? Unni, so where, sa, are you, iennu, going. So iri becomes iennu in conjugated, Unni sa iennu. And then you can respond however you want. Sa ienna putia, I'm going to the shop. And I'd like to underline that even though oftentimes Sicilian sounds similar to Italian, I think a lot of the sentences that I said, like if I right now said this, unisaienno, sienna potia, people from mainland Italy wouldn't understand this sentence. There are words and sentences that they can absolutely understand where they sound closer, but I think a lot of the times in my experience, whenever I went to Italy mainland, because my family, half of the family is from the north, like I would go and they would tell me, so you speak Sicilian? And I said, yeah, of course. And they would tell me, oh, I can understand Sicilian. But when they say that, what they mean is that they can understand Sicilian when we speak Italian with a Sicilian accent. But when we actually swap to true full-on Sicilian language, depending on which area of Sicily, because there are multiple dialects of Sicilian, depending on which one it is, they won't understand anything. And in fact, I shocked a few friends in the north that told me that, are like, oh yeah, I understand Sicilian, say something. And then I told them, for instance, tassecuto sun tarru spighi. They won't have a clue. That means I'll go after you if you don't wake up right now. Like I will beat you, or I will get all over you, like scream at you, whatever. And that's a very simple sentence. Which is like, buddy, did you take the tissue downstairs? Now, given muccaturi is a little archaic, a lot of Sicilians don't use that anymore, but just to give you a few examples. Yeah. Anyway, iri. Isti would be the past, uniti. Isti is the past. Yeah.
Giù.
Iusu, there you go.
Fazzoletto.
There we go.
Muccatori.
As I say, it's old-fashioned, but it is the Sicilian word for it.
Gallina. Addena.
Addena. Now, another thing you may have noticed is that compared to standard Italian, Sicilian elongates vowels a lot. And we do that, and that's just our accent. And what's funny is that even when we speak Italian, we tend to do it in Italian, which immediately, together with other things and other, like the intonation, it makes it obvious that you are from the island to anyone who listens to you. Now, when it comes to the intonation and the accent, as I say, it depends on which area of Sicily you're from. A characteristic of Eastern Sicilian is that they have a rising terminal, so a lot of sentences end up sounding like questions. People in Eastern Sicily tend to raise the tone, but very strongly, both in questions and sometimes regular sentences. And instead, in Western Sicily, where I'm from, the accent, rather than having a rising terminal, we go down very quickly and suddenly, and it kind of sounds like we don't care. So to give you an example of Western Sicilian, manterias, accataisi mirinciane, I mirinciane, right? It goes up and then down. That means, did you buy the eggplants or aubergines? It's mirinciani. A lot of fruit, vegetables, yeah, all of these sound quite different. Shirasi is another one, which means cherries. In Italian, it would be ciliegie.
Melanzane.
Oh, there you go.
Mirinciani.
Mirinciane.
Bello. Bello.
This happens a lot. When you have double L in Italian, it's often a double D in Sicilian, but the way that D is pronounced varies depending on the region of Sicily. Some will pronounce it like a D, while others will actually transition into a J sound. So either beddu or bedju. And it really depends on which area you're from. The latter usually being more rural sounding. This differentiation in how you pronounce letters is another thing. TR in Sicilian sounds like English. So you know that how in English you say train, trip, it's a tr. That's the same in Sicilian, whereas Italian would pronounce it like a tr. So to give you an example, traffico, which is like traffic, like in Italian would be traffico. In Sicilian, it's traffico, o traffico, traffico, ch. So, in fact, when I was teaching English to Sicilians, I would usually tell them, because they try to Italianize English, and so they will say travel, trip, and I tell them, pronounce it like you would in Sicilian, and they go, travel, and I'm like, yeah, travel, travel, yeah, and another time we do that is with dr, so which in Italian is dr, like drago, which means dragon in Italian, it's a dr, but Sicilians say dr. So Sicilians would say jago or drago, which sounds a lot closer to dragon, so dr. And yeah, and sometimes Sicilians carry that over into Italian as well, and which once again makes it a very standout accent.
Seccatura.
Camurria.
Camurria.
Camurria. Even my northern dad learned this one because it's just easy to say. Camurria. Camurria, camurria. It's what we say when, yeah, something is annoying. And you can tell someone, sina camurria, which means you are an annoyance. Sina camurria.
Iazzu.
Yeah, I say old-fashioned. I personally never used yatsu, but it is the Sicilian word for bed. My uncle uses it, but there is a generational gap. It's also, the other thing is that it depends on the area, once again. There are some areas where they will use this one. Otherwise, you can say letto, lietto. If you can add an E if you're in Western Sicily, lietto, o lietto. But it's pretty much, yeah, it depends.
Per giunta. Spite.
So I need to tell you something funny about this one. It's not moreover. It's not really moreover. It's like, oh gosh, I don't know how to translate it, but to give you an idea, so it would be a bit like, not only I lost my job, but on top of that, they gave me an extra bill to pay. In that situation, an Italian would say, e per giunta devo pagare, and on top of that, it's like an on top of a negative thing. Sicilians will say spiti. And it's funny because when I was a university student, I was living in Naples, and in my flat, I was sharing the flat with a guy from Salerno and a guy from Gaeta. Gaeta is in Lazio, but it's kind of very south, so it's the same region as Rome. They kind of sound like they're from that region, but also sound a bit like Neapolitans. It's kind of an in-between. They have excellent olives. Anyways, neither of them understood Sicilian, so usually they didn't use it, but at one point I didn't actually realize that spiti wasn't an Italian word. This happens a lot to Sicilians, by the way. So sometimes we use words and we think it's Italian and it's not. So they said something bad that happened to them on top of something else, and so to that I responded, spiti. And he looked at me, spite? I said, yeah, spite. He's like, what's that? So I explained to him what it meant, and he's like, in English? He thought it was English because it kind of ended like with a T and a very almost silent I. And I said, no, that's, oh, I guess it's Sicilian then. And he's like, that's so funny. He thought it was English when I said spite. Spite. Spite is so funny. I love spite.
Hai capito? O capisci?
Note how this one, that's the end of the clip, by the way. So, hai capito is Italian for did you understand? Because capito is the past of capire, to understand. Sicilian simplifies it, shortens it, and it becomes u capisti. U capisti. You don't even have to fully pronounce it. I mean, you can if you want. U capisti. But a lot of Sicilians get a little lazy at the end and just go u capisti. Okay, cool stuff. So that was what I wanted to share with you, or just adding some extra vocabulary and stuff. If you want to know more Sicilian, or you want me to actually teach it, like a bit like a formal lesson, if you will, like teaching you actually how to say things and sentences, I would be more than happy to do it, just as a form of cultural heritage, if you will. But yeah, that's the video for today. Thank you for watching. Ni vediamo. Ni vediamo. See ya. Ni vediamo. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much.